All right. Well, can you tell me about your religious upbringing?
Yeah, I went to Catholic school my whole life. I was what we would call a cradle Catholic. I was baptized as a baby. My family was Catholic growing up. They're not so much practicing now, but they're more so culturally Catholic now. But I went to Catholic school my whole life, all the way through high school. And as a lot of people can probably relate, I fell away. I just loved Jesus, and that was kind of enough. Never really took my faith seriously, and I didn't really learn much in Catholic school. And that's not a dig on Catholic education, but I had theology class, and we just didn't learn anything of substance. We went to mass first Friday and it was great, but didn't retain anything. It didn't impact me in any meaningful way. And as I got older, I fell away and never went to mass and got married, had my son, went through a divorce, moved back in with my parents, met my current husband. Um, he was Catholic as well. He grew up Catholic. He wasn't practicing either. We were just living a great life, living in sin, really, honestly. But we were having a great time. Then I got pregnant, and then he proposed, and I was like, okay, this is not this is bad. This is really, really bad. I'm already a single mom. Like, I did every mistake that you could have. And that to him, he was planning to propose when I found out I was pregnant. But who really knows? Who really knows? And I was like, you're not marrying me because I'm pregnant. This is not how it's going to go. But he really convinced me that he was going to propose anyways. So we got married in the Catholic Church. I had to get an annulment because I was previously married. And he reverted back to the faith before I did. And in my head, I justified it because I said, listen, this guy was kind of a player, party guy, wasn't the most faithful in the beginning of when we were dating. So he's got a lot to make up for. I've been like a really good person my whole life. So I don't, I, he started reading early church fathers and Saint Ignatius and Saint Thomas and all of these books. And I'm like, you're becoming like a hardo. Like, can we just like bring it down? Let's go to mass. We can pray together. But like, why are you like, he was praying the rosary every day. And I'm like, Joe, relax. Like, it's not that serious. But and then so we were going to mass and whatnot. But there were like two instances where I kind of realized that I wasn't being a good Christian, much less a good Catholic. I didn't even really know what Catholics believed. I was just kind of going along to get along type of thing. But one day we were driving and he had this like little pamphlet in his car, and it laid out mortal sins and venial sins and eternal life and heaven and hell and purgatory. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, all right, guilty, 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 guilty. And I just like in that moment, it just clicked for me that I was not a Christian at all. I wasn't living like a Christian. I wasn't living like a Catholic. It was just, that was like one light bulb moment that I had. So I slowly reverted back and started to pray the rosary and started to kind of dig a little bit deeper into my faith. I started listening to the Bible in a year and, you know, all the different things. And then we wanted to have more children. And so we started trying, sorry, TMI. But nothing was working. I wasn't getting pregnant. And I was like, I feel like I'm being punished for like living like a secular life for so long. And maybe, I don't know, like my divorce and all these types of things kind of crept into my brain. And so I was like, you know what? I'm going to start these novenas. Joe's always talking about novenas. I'm going to do a novena and I'm going to pray
Oh,
it and
sorry.
I'll get
What's
pregnant.
what's a noveno? I'm so sorry. What's that?
It's like a 9-day prayer. It's usually, so there's different saints that have different intentions. So for me, like Saint Rita, for example, she's the patron saint of impossible causes. So, I pray a rose novena to her. So it's just like, it's a 9-day set of prayers that you do for a specific intention. So I started to do that. And I was like, surely once God hears that I mean it, he'll let me get pregnant and I'll have more kids. And that wasn't the case, sadly. And 4 years later, still no baby, but I have two. But I really think that if it wasn't for that like suffering and hard time that I went through, where I turned to God and I turned to my faith kind of in a disingenuous way. I did it more so like maybe if I act right and do these things, I'll get what I want. Um, but through that process, I he really did change my heart. And so now I'm at such a good place where I'm obviously completely enamored with my faith, and it means the world to me. And I'm also in a much better place when it comes to accepting his will and, truly surrendering. A priest once told me that surrendering doesn't mean that you don't feel the feelings of whatever it is you're longing for. Surrendering is a choice that you truly choose to trust that his plan is better than yours, even if you don't truly understand it. So, anyways, I don't know if you were expecting like a 1 minute thing,
No,
but
no,
that's kind
take
of
your time. If I don't interrupt you, I think it's interesting, and I'm sure the people in the comments are loving this as well. You mentioned a novena, and I'm sorry if I'm ignorant because I'm not Catholic, but someone asked in the comment section, like, is there a specific saint that you call for intercession when you're anxious?
so Saint Dymphna, she is the patron saint of kind of like mental health, anxiety, things like that. I'm a very anxious person. Like my baseline is anxious and nervous and kind of pessimistic. So that's where I kind of start my day. So any little thing will really kind of throw me off. So she's great for that. But I really pray to Saint Jude and Saint Rita, who are the patron saint of impossible causes, just because, to me, my fertility was impossible for us to have a third child. So
My
that's
my
who I
wife
kind
and
of call
I,
on.
my wife and I, we tried to for years. I think it took us let's see now, it took us 5 years to have our first one, and then and of course we tried for the second one. And I'm traveling. I spent about like last year was 165 days in that 1 year away from home. And so when you get home, you have to hit
Wow.
that window, right? So it never really worked for us. We took
Yeah. That's
we
how we
went
are, really.
yeah, we went to visit what I call a witch. I'm still convinced that she's a witch. She's like a natural, whatever she is, but she gave us a little herb or whatever it was, and boom, she got pregnant right away. So,
No way. You let
yeah,
me know what that herb is.
yeah, I need to ask my wife. I don't know if my wife is on this chat, but Shanna, if you're on this, just say hello or whatever. Because we took that herb for like a week, and then she was pregnant. So
Wow,
I'm
that's
I'm
amazing.
convinced she's like some sort of witch or something, but they say no, she's a good Christian lady, but no, I think she's a witch. I don't know. Um, Now, what advice would you give to other cradle Catholics? There are many who may feel maybe that their faith has become dry or routine. They're not so active in church. So,
hmm
is there an advice that you could give to them?
I would say that it's very normal to feel distant from God, to feel disconnected from your faith. I know that for me, I go through ebbs and flows of, I'll pray the rosary, I will do my readings, I will dive into the word, and I'm on such a good routine. And then something happens where maybe I go a couple days without it, and then maybe I pick it back up and it just doesn't hit the same, it doesn't feel the same. Or maybe something happens where I'm feeling, I don't know, like God's not listening, my prayers aren't answered, whatever. But when you feel distant, when you don't feel like praying, when you don't feel like doing all these things, my biggest piece of advice is to double down because those are the times that you need it the most. And distance from God is not because he moved, it's not because he's abandoned you. Silence does not mean absence. It's really kind of a time of fortitude and a time to really strengthen your faith. If you look at those dry spells as like the in-betweens, the highs, and when you're feeling on fire and when you're feeling all these things, you can really kind of weather the storm, if you will, or kind of get through that. I always think of Jesus in the desert for 40 days whenever I'm feeling so disconnected that he was all alone and he was doing all, he was tempted left and right and he just kind of stayed the course. And so if you stay the course, then you'll get to the other side, which is the high of being in love with your faith and, doing all of the things. But if it was always good, you'd never really appreciate it. So that would be my advice, is to double down.
Great. When you mentioned kind of falling away a little bit from the church and not being so much involved with the Catholic Church, um, what was the reason? Did you have any moments of doubt? Or what was the reason and how did you overcome that?
I think it was, I just didn't have strong formation as a child, even though I grew up in the church and I went to Catholic school. It was never emphasized that, like, it was a very Protestant idea to have a personal relationship with Jesus. So I didn't have a personal relationship with Jesus. It was more so like go through the motions of go to mass, go to confession, and then we'll see you back here on Sunday. It was never go home and read the Bible or, go home and reflect, or it wasn't anything like that. There weren't Bible studies. No one talked about their faith. And so I think that's something that I've brought into my parenting is I really want my children to know Jesus in their own way while also, forming them in our faith as well. So that's what I would attribute it to. And then also just living for this world. It was, it's so easy and convenient. Life is so hard, just like baseline, it's just hard. It's expensive. And it's like, our economy, our society, all these things are always kind of working against you. And it's like one more thing that you have to kind of put effort into. It's just like, it's not enticing. And so, our society doesn't, form us to want a relationship with God. But yeah, I would attribute it, number one, to never having a personal relationship, because then it's easy to kind of let it slide to the wayside because I don't really know anything different. So
Yeah.
yeah, I see in the comments poorly catechized 100%. So
Yeah. Would you say that like some of those dry spells or hard times kind of helped spark your hunger for a more meaningful relationship with Jesus somehow in a strange way?
yeah, I would say so, simply because when you go from being up and you know you're happy with your faith and how your relationship is going and you feel really connected to God, and then all of a sudden you don't, you it's like you don't realize what you have till it's gone. So I never really felt those highs, so I kind of lived my life just distant, never really on fire for him. And then once I felt that, and then you lose it again, not with that you fall away, but that you just go through the ebbs and flows, you'll do anything to get it back and kind of get back into your groove, if you will. So yeah, and that's why I say those kind of like dry times, those dry spells, that's where the fortitude really comes in, and you kind of come out on the other side with stronger faith than what you had the last time that you thought you had strong faith. That makes sense.
Yeah. So then, at what point and what specifically helped you to find a more meaningful relationship with Jesus? Was there a moment or like an experience with Jesus, or what brought you back,
Yeah,
right?
I think my fertility problems that I was having really made me see. Now, don't get mad in the comments, guys, but it really made me relate to Mary, in the way that, she went through the suffering that she went through as his mom. And to me, it was just, I'm a mom, I'm a woman. So to me, I look at her and I'm like, she can give me the strength. Not that Jesus can't, but it's really meaningful to be able to relate in such a way. Like, I'm a mom, she was a mom, she went through the worst imaginable loss. I can get through what I'm going through, type of thing. But I would really say that my personal relationship with Jesus really, really changed when I felt abandoned and like I felt like I was being punished for my previous actions. And once I got my life together and I married this great guy and he loves to go to church. Let's have all these Catholic babies, big Catholic families. That's what Catholics are known for. So now I'm ready for it. And all of a sudden I'm not getting this. And it was the darkest times of my life, to be honest. And I think that through that darkness, I was able to really kind of give my suffering and unite my suffering with Jesus. And, I'm always kind of comparing, not in the sense of like, oh, what does she have that I don't? But if Jesus did all of this for us and he loves us so, so much that there was nothing that we could do that would make him not love us. And so he's right here with me. He has felt this pain. He has felt this suffering. He has cried the tears. He has been there. And so let me unite my suffering to him and have him kind of help me through. And so I will say this till I die. I don't think I would be the woman I am today in my faith if I wouldn't have been tested for my fertility issues, to be totally honest, because your faith is a testament. Your faith can be really tested, obviously, but a true testament of your faith isn't when everything is good and everything is healed and miracles happen and everything, is up here. It's when everything hurts and everything sucks and you don't know how you're going to go on. That's when, a true testament of your faith kind of comes out. So I would say my suffering is what brought me closer to him.
Yeah, so somehow that is not to say maybe that God caused you suffering in any way, shape, or form, but that God, through those hard times, I guess, used that to kind of change your mindset a little bit and then refocus on Christ.
Yeah.
But you mentioned that Christ was there all along. You thought that you were being punished somehow, but that leads me to wonder maybe if you've had a change of mind. Repent comes from metanoia, which means change your mind. So did you have like a change your mind experience where you changed maybe how you view Christ, that no, he was always there and he was always faithful, like have you grown in Christ since that moment that you kind of came back, if that makes sense?
Yeah, I really, really have. And I think it was a slow process, but I remember when I was first going through these problems that I remember there was a prayer that I was saying that said, change my heart's desires, or fulfill my heart's desires. That's what it kept saying, fulfill my heart's desires. And in my head, I was like, my heart's desires are for a bigger family, for more children. So fulfill my heart's desires. And I put my energy that I was putting into tracking and all the stuff I won't go into, all of this, I was hating women who were pregnant and I wasn't, and all of these, and then I would go to confession because I felt guilty, and it's just this cycle. But I put all of that energy into starting a Bible study here at my parish. And I met wonderful women who have now become my best friends. But I remember that I mentioned to one of them that I said this prayer, and it said, fulfill my heart's desires. And I was speaking to our priest at our church, and he looked at me and he was like, that doesn't actually mean that he's going to fulfill your heart's desires. What he's going to do, he's going to change and he's going to convert your heart's desires to be what he wants for you, because ultimately that is better than anything you could desire. And when he said that, something kind of clicked, because I had noticed that, I started off really angry, I was very resentful. And, I really united my suffering with Christ, and I leaned on him and Mary, and I was getting through it, but I was getting by. And I really noticed that over time, I really was kind of thriving. And it was still something I longed for, but it didn't dictate my life. It didn't dictate my faith. It didn't dictate how I treated other people. And so he really did. I had a total conversion of heart. He totally changed my heart's desires. And now all I want to do, what my heart's desires, besides, the worldly things, I want to be successful, I want to be a good mom, I want to whatever, I want to glorify him in every single thing that I do. And so that's my focus now. And if I wouldn't have gone through what I went through, I wouldn't have the Bible study that I have. I wouldn't have the community that I have now. I wouldn't have started posting online. And so, all of these things are greater than myself. They're for his glory. They're, to hopefully bring people closer, in their relationship with him, hopefully Catholicism, but if not, that's okay. So, it really is a true testament of how he will change your heart if you let him. And I think I let him. So,
Yeah. I'm assuming then, based on everything that you say, that church has become more precious to you. Just the importance of having
mhm.
a community, right? And
Yes,
so,
I think fellowship is so important.
and how does church become more and more precious to you? Like, for example, what does the role of the mass play in your spiritual life today?
Before, it was just something you do because you have to do it. And I look forward to going to Mass every Sunday. I mean, there are some times where I'm like a little tired and I wish I didn't have to go, but it's truly where I get to come face to face with Jesus. And to me, he's just right down the street from me. He's right there. And every Sunday, I get to carve out an hour of my day to really show him the reverence that he deserves. And everything during the Mass now is so much more intentional. I kneel with intention. I receive on the tongue because it's the reverence that I want to show Jesus. The songs, the psalms, everything is just, you just see it through a whole different lens when you realize that you're not there to feel good. You're not there to get anything out of it. You are there to worship Jesus in the way that he intended and to show him, just an ounce of reverence. And I mean, I love going. I love going to the events that that our church has with different ministries, and it just makes me feel so proud to be a part of, this community of people who also feel the same way that I do. And so I love going to Mass now. I veil. Well, I lost my veil, so I feel like I've been under spiritual warfare. My scapular broke, my crucifix broke, or I lost my crucifix, and now my veil is gone. So I have to get a new one. But yeah. Sorry, I feel like my answers are so long.
No, they're amazing. If they were bad, I would interrupt you. Trust me. They and people are loving it in the comments. I'm trying to
Okay,
keep up
good.
with all the comments. Ask your questions to Anna. I'm trying to look at them and tap the screens, people, and share this with people that you think would be helped by listening to this. Thank you again, Anna. One question that just was brought up to me: TLM or what?
Mhm.
Is it traditional Latin mass that you go to?
TLM. Yeah, so there's a TLM near me, maybe about 40 minutes or so. So we don't make it to that one. We go to a Novus Ordo. Now, here's my gripe about TLM. It's not about the people, but the people have ruined it for me. They have this holier than thou kind of attitude. I remember my first TLM mass I went to, I did not veil at the time, and I wasn't wearing anything offensive,
Sorry,
but I
what
was
people
wearing,
asking what is TLM? We have a lot of Protestants in the chat, so what it's
oh,
traditional Latin mass, right? They do the mass, the liturgy in Latin. So sorry, Anna, go on.
yes. No, no, that's okay. Um, Someone said be careful not to generalize. Good, yes. So I will speak to just the experience that I had at my first TLM. Some gentleman came up to me afterwards, and I wasn't wearing jeans. I wasn't wearing sweatpants. I was wearing it was a long skirt. But he basically told me that I needed to veil or not come back, and I was like, what? Like I don't veil. Like I didn't know that was mandatory. I apologize. And then we went back maybe like 6 months later to a different parish. And at the time, my daughter was a little younger and she was fussing a bit. And after maybe like a minute of her fussing, I took her to the little like vestibule area. And some lady, this time it was a lady, she said that it's very irreverent to leave during mass. And I said, well, what's more irreverent that I let my baby disrupt the whole, like, it's such a reverent mass. It was so, like, it's all in Latin, and I don't really know what they're saying necessarily. I'm not fluent in Latin, but it was just very bad experiences for me. And it's it's nice, but I just have to find one where I feel, and again, it's not about me, it's not about my feelings. I tell people all the time, like, it's not about what you feel, it's about what you should be doing. But when you have those negative experiences, and this is why I say like church hurt is so, so real because it can
Yeah.
really change how you feel about going to mass or going to events. And it's like
And in
people are
all
so
churches
like,
too.
oh,
It's in
yeah,
Protestant churches,
yeah,
Orthodox. It's everywhere. Church hurt is a real thing, you know. But
yeah,
still,
yeah.
though, despite all of that, obviously the community and people are important. Like there's a uh, what people use. Well, some people say this, right? I don't go to church. I am the church, which is completely false. You're not the church. You are
Yeah.
part of the church. You're a member of the body, but you are not everything. You're not the whole body. Christ is the body, right? And you're part of
Hmm.
Christ. Like you're, but people are important, right? To be able to surround yourself with good people who can help you on your journey with Christ. So, would you mind speaking on that a little bit? You know, finding a community and how important that is. You know.
Yeah, there is nothing wrong. I know that, Protestants, I was talking about this last week with someone, that and I guess in Protestant households, it's common to kind of church hop and go kind of find the church that best suits you. And someone asked if it's okay if Catholics do that, and it's totally fine because I might go to a church that's primarily older people, and I want to be around younger people who have kids. So, if there's ministries, we're in a young family ministry. So finding a church that really does, it's not the mass won't change, the service won't change, that stuff stays the same. But finding the community that is similar to maybe what you're going through is so essential to being able to grow in your faith. I think our faith is not meant to be a one-on-one soul thing. We are the body of Christ. It's about community and communion, and that's essential if you really want to be able to grow and nurture your faith. And it's, you have people who hold you accountable. Like it really changes everything. So finding a church that really, I don't know, makes you feel like you are a part of the body of Christ is so key to me. And unfortunately, that's not possible for people. I know in certain states there's only like one church within however long. I'm really thankful that there's multiple here. We were able to find one that we love. But yeah, if you ever feel a disconnect from your church, just know it's not from God. That's number one. And number two, go try out a different one. You're not married to the church, so find a different parish.
So, someone asked in the comments, do Catholics fast? Lent/fast?
Yes, we fast during Lent. We also partake in Lent. And we are supposed to do a small penance fast. Is Catholic Sam here? We are supposed to fast. I mean, my husband and I, we fast every Wednesday and Friday. Oh, look at that.
I'm
We
sorry, Anne.
do fast every Wednesday and
If I do
Friday.
something stupid while you're talking,
No,
just ignore me. People are asking in the comments. I just showed them next one. Sorry. I thought I was muted.
no, it's fine. It's fine. But yeah, we fast on Wednesdays and Fridays. We are supposed to, as Catholics, do a small penance on Fridays, and I believe also fasting on Fridays is what is called for. It's kind of like up to the diocese, I feel like. But if you look on okay, I'm reading the comments. Yes, yes, guys, we do fast. Um, but yeah, so fasting to us is a way of denying ourselves, de- getting used to denying ourselves of like our worldly desires, hunger. My priest put it wonderfully one time. He said, we're supposed to fast on Fridays from meat, just status quo. It's not just during Lent, and we're also supposed to fast before we receive the Eucharist on Sunday. We're supposed to do a 1 hour fast before we receive at Mass. And the reason that we do that, it's not for punishment. It's not for anything other than because we want to silence our worldly type of desires, our hunger, our comfort, all of these things. It's a way that you can really strengthen yourself and silence those noises. So we hunger for Jesus. So that's, that's a really good way that he put it. And that's how I put it to other people. So yeah, if you can fast on Fridays, fast from, I believe it's, yeah. Okay. Go ahead. Next question. But yeah.
Great. Saint Michael, the Archangel from Indonesia. How are you? Salamat. Is it Malam or Pagi over there? I don't know. Tuhan Yesus memberkati. Okay, I want to go back to, you mentioned like Catholic practices such as the Eucharist, confession, etc. So my question is, how does Catholic practices such as the Eucharist, etc., affect your connection with Christ, right?
Yeah. Great question. So when I receive the Eucharist, I really feel like I have Jesus kind of flowing through my body. I know that, we are supposed to make sure that we're in a state of grace before we receive. You can't receive unworthily, but also we need to make sure that we don't see it as like a prize. It's not a prize for good behavior or not sinning or anything like that. It is a way for us to get closer to Jesus, and it's through, receiving the Eucharist and really reflecting on what that actually means, that you can allow yourself to kind of let his grace come over you and heal different parts of your life. So that's how I feel when I receive. I feel like it's just him, like all the sins that I've committed, these habitual sins that I'm tied to, whether it's gossiping or, what have you. Nothing where I'm in a state of mortal sin, of course, but these things that really damage my soul, I feel like they cause these little tiny breaks in my heart. And when I receive the Eucharist, I just feel like the Eucharist kind of fills those holes and kind of makes me whole again. And then, you go back and you sin again, and it's a lifelong process, but that's how I feel about the Eucharist. And it really does kind of help me, I don't know, like visualize Jesus in a way that I don't think I would be able to do if I wasn't a Catholic and receiving him in that manner. And with confession too, confession is humiliating. I've been going my whole life, and to humble yourself. And yes, it's in front of a priest, but we're not confessing to the priest. As Catholics, we believe that the priest is acting in persona Christi, which means in the person of Christ. So it's not Father Michael who I'm going to, who's forgiving my sins. It really is Christ. But Father Michael's still there. He's got ears. He hears what I'm saying. It's this virtue of humility that really gets strengthened when you go and you confess, especially when you are close in your church with the priests and the deacons, and you have this kind of like familial bond. And then I'm there and I'm saying that I, lost my patience with my kids, and that I, my sister-in-law's pregnant, and that pisses me off because I'm not, it's like, oh my gosh. But yeah, it's, I think all of the sacraments that we have, and the things that are unique maybe to Catholicism that other faiths don't have, really are just, it's like one piece of, this bigger kind of well-oiled machine, that when you partake in the sacraments and you truly repent and you go receive the Eucharist and you try and live every day, you do a morning offering and then maybe pray the rosary and whatever, it really does kind of all work together to make you better, hopefully. So, I don't know.
Yeah, and I have to apologize for all the people in the comments who were traumatized that I was, I don't know, calming my mustache to the side. When I think, I play with my mustache and I look very mad. My wife says that I have Neanderthal eyebrows. I'm not actually mad. I'm just like, when you say something, I listen very intensely, right?
No, that's my husband. He has like a permanent line, like in the middle of his forehead, because he's just always
I get
like
this thing right here. But anyway, so what was I gonna ask? I would assume that going to confession, and I don't know how often you go to confession, if there's a rule, but just the fact that you have to go to confession, I would assume would keep you accountable in a way, because I mean that would be dreadful, right? To have to confess, right?
yes,
You
it
confess
is.
what you've done, right?
Yes, I go once a month. sometimes it's, 6 weeks, sometimes it's twice in 1 month, just kind of depending on the schedule, my schedule that kind of allows and when I make it there. But yeah, sometimes it's, you know, you would think that it would help you to not commit the same sins. I can only speak for myself, but I know for probably about a year, I was in that confessional with the same sins over and over again, 12 times a year. And, it's, you don't have to go to confession for every little thing that you do that maybe, like you lose your patience, you yell at your husband, whatever. It's not all of these things that like the everyday, things that sometimes my emotions get the best of me. That doesn't mean that I'm not in a state of grace. But it's really, for me, it's about asking for absolution, obviously, and being absolved of my sins, but also the the penance that is given. I really take my penance seriously, and my intention always with my penance is to be fortified and to have my heart get, better and stronger and not susceptible to these sins. And I gotta say, the sins I was confessing a year ago aren't the sins I'm confessing now, so maybe it
Good.
worked.
Good. So,
But
what is penance for someone who's completely new? Like, could you give an
oh,
example
I'm
of a
sorry.
penance?
Yeah, so a penance, it's the best way I could put it in like layman's terms is like homework kind of. So you go to confession and you're absolved of your sins, and then the priest will give you a penance. It's not mandatory. You're not forgiven only if you do your penance, but it'll be something like, maybe say the Litany of Trust, which is another prayer, or maybe do two Our Fathers and one Hail Mary. And you want to complete them when you leave. You can complete them, when you get home or whatever, but I always leave the confessional and go right to the pew, and I complete my confession or my penance. And it's just like a way of making like reparations almost. Like let me, but also you're helping yourself. So that's what penance is.
Weird question, but I have a whole. So I have like, as I said, it's between 40 to 45% of the people who are watching are usually Catholic, and then about
Hmm.
12 to 15% are EOs, and then the remaining are Protestant. So it's a very mixed audience, right? Um,
Hmm.
but if you could pick like one doctrine that you think is different from, say, Protestantism or Eastern Orthodoxy, I don't know if, or can you like, is that difficult to say?
Don't
Am
put
I
me on the
putting you on the
spot.
spot?
No,
Or,
no.
or let me make it easier. Just pick something about the Catholic faith, doctrine, or a
Mhm.
spiritual practice, whatever you want, that just deepens your love for Christ, if that makes sense. Sorry if I'm a bad
Okay.
question asker.
No, no, you're great. This is great. I will say, not a doctrine, of course, but a practice in Catholicism is praying the rosary, and it's a very hot topic for non-Catholics or maybe even Catholics who might not understand the Marian dogmas that we have. We believe in Mary's perpetual virginity. We believe that she's the mother of God, all these things. But for me, the rosary is very important, very crucial in my faith. It's really strengthened my relationship with God because so a lot of people think the rosary is about just about Mary, but it's we life of Christ. We have different days where we meditate on different events, but every rosary is made up of 5 events. And so if you're meditating on, the sorrowful mysteries, sorrowful means sad, so it's, like the crucifixion and those events. And so you're meditating on those events, and you're kind of doing it with Mary walking alongside with you. So you picture, nobody loved Mary more than Jesus, and you're picturing kind of walking alongside with her as she's, meeting him, on his way, or when he's being nailed to the cross, or when he's being let down from the cross, and all of these, that visualization, that kind of meditation, because as Catholics, we know the Hail Mary and the Our Father by heart. So we're just saying those things to just kind of keep us in like a meditative state. We're not praying the Hail Mary because it's Hail Mary, full of grace, just thinking about Mary, Mary, Mary. It's really just to kind of help us meditate. And the beads that we hold are to keep count. Um, but it's, you see Jesus in a different light, that maybe you might not have, and you just appreciate the kind of suffering that he went through, that his mother went through, all for our sins, for our reparation. So we weren't separated eternally from God in heaven. And I think that's, if you pray the rosary every day, the kind of peace that will come over your life, it's just, you can't explain that. Um, but yeah, it's very misunderstood. I've made countless videos on it. Some I've made in like a very cocky type of way, like, it's biblical. It's not. We're not worshiping Mary. And that doesn't land very well. But sometimes I get so tuned up. And I just want to say, little unrelated, but I have to say to you, you are the only creator that I have come across who you will stick to the truth 100% of the time. You might not believe maybe the doctrines or some of the teachings of the Catholic faith or what have you, but you never misrepresent them. And that is something that I admire so. I was actually talking to my husband about, I was like, I'm going on live today. And he was like, oh, with who? And I'm telling him all about, I was like, this is the only guy who he's never like stitched my videos to tell me that I'm in a cult and that I'm doing it all wrong. And I think that's why your audience is so appreciative of the work you do, because you might not be Catholic, but I follow you. As Catholics, we 100% appreciate what you have to say and how you represent our faith, because you might not be praying the rosary, maybe one day, but you might not be praying the rosary, but you don't call us out and say that we're worshiping Mary, and no, because you know that's not what we believe. And so you always characterize us in the best way possible, even if you disagree with us. And that's, to
Yeah,
me, that's
but
like a true mark of a Christian. So take notes, people.
thank you. Someone said in the comments like 10 minutes ago, oh, hey, Taco Talks, two of Taco Talk's favorite people. As Taco
Don't
Talk
get me
stitched
started
your
on that
videos?
guy.
Has he stitched your videos?
Of course he has. Yeah, he has. I blocked him a while ago. And also Patrick, Bible in Context. Those
Bible
are
out
the
of
types
context, yeah.
of yeah, those are the types of people who I just think are doing so much damage, not only to themselves, and I don't want to necessarily talk about them, but Taco Talks and that guy, Bible and Patrick, I don't have anything nice to say about them, so I won't. But they really are misusing their time, their effort, and their platform, and shame on them.
Yeah.
Shame on them. And you are doing exactly what they want to be doing, but that they cannot do because they cannot let go of their own pride. And that's it.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't want to talk bad about them either, but I mean, they've kind of done that to themselves. Like I think you made a video about Patrick's interview with, what's his name? Nisa?
Nisa.
Yeah. I
Oh,
think
I
it's
was
just,
tuned up. I was so, that was probably and I said some things on there that I probably shouldn't have. I was like, oh, well, anybody can get a master's in divinity. It's an 8-week course at Liberty University. That's not very nice to say, but
it's true
I'm
though.
just so tired of the blatant misrepresentations. And someone like, if you spoke to Nisa, you're not going to grill him on Catholic doctrine and then
No,
just wait for him to trip up or misrepresent, or
no,
just
no. The
talk about what
first,
you want to talk about.
yeah, the first thing that you would want to do is introduce Christ to a person who's new to Christ, right? I mean,
Yes.
you see Nisa in the comments there. I didn't know this, but he moderated my debate with Persuaded Apologetics. He was in a live together with me, and we talked to Nisa a little bit. That's actually funny. His name is Nisa, and here's Nisa.
Yeah.
Um, no. Okay. You said that you saw Jesus in a different light. Maybe you don't remember, but I want
Yes.
to go back to what you said there. Um, the Apostle Peter, he said that you grow in the knowledge and in the grace of our Lord Jesus Christ. So my question is, I
Mhm.
guess, do you have any moment in your life that you felt like you grew in your knowledge of Jesus? And in what way have you grown, if you want to go back, you know, to whenever you were not participating maybe so much in church to where you are now? How is Jesus, if you will, become more precious, real to you, or personal to you?
Um, when I wasn't practicing, Jesus was a very far off thought, very kind of hard to grasp. I didn't feel that he was present, not because I was looking for him, because he was present, but just like, Jesus was more of like a concept. Like I knew that he came and he died for us and he went through all this suffering because he loves us so much, but that's pretty much where it ended. Now, through the rosary and just my reversion back to the faith, I, he's like I have this personal relationship with him that I talk to him like a friend. I cry to him, like a brother. I lean on him like a father. Like it's just this all-encompassing type of relationship that has different facets that I never really saw or experienced or knew. And ultimately, that's what's really kind of held me together. Um, because I just see him as like a like I see him in my corner. Like he just wants me, not that he wants me to be happy, but he just he truly loves me in the sense that love is to will the good of the other, and he just wants me to get to heaven. He wants me to make good choices here, not because he needs the accolades and the whatever, because it's his way or no way. No, because these are the things that will truly give me eternity with him. And he safeguards my heart. He's you know I just see him as so differently. I see him as a true like confidant and true supporter, and um like all things in one. And before it was a very distant type of relationship where he was there and it was like, oh, thank God I didn't fail this test, but I wasn't thinking God, I wasn't thinking about him. And I think that's how you can really grow a deep personal relationship with him, when you stop seeing him as this like far away person, but like, no, he's right there. He's right there cheering you on, loving you, picking you up when you don't know he's picking you up. It's him picking you up. So, yeah. And what was the
What?
other question? Sorry.
No, no, that's great. So, so what then does it mean to you to be Catholic? Well, like, what does that look like? Right? What is your purpose with being a Catholic? Right? How do you make a difference in the world? Like, how do you present Christ to others?
So I think the best way to be a Catholic, be a good Catholic, is number one, to be obedient. So there's things about our faith that I don't love. Like I hate the fact that I cannot do IVF. Like bring it back to me. Like I know that God loves me more than I love me. And so, you know, my first bit would be obedience. Like he knows what's best for me. He knows what I need. He knows what I truly want, my heart's desires, and he knows, you know, he wants me to get to heaven. There's no one that wants me to get to heaven more than him. So obedience is number one. That's to me, that's in the first way, to be a Catholic, and how to kind of make a difference in the world, or how to be a good Catholic out in the world, is to be a witness, not like a sad, I'm going through so much pain type of witness, but to truly reflect God's joy in your everyday life, whether you're surrounded by, you know, sorry, I just got a text from my husband. He sent me something on Twitter, and I don't like Twitter. Twitter scares me, so I'm not even going on there. but, um, but yeah, being a witness, I think, is the best way. When I first started posting online, I just wanted people to see the fullness of our faith, and maybe my first couple videos, nobody go scrolling, but my first couple videos was almost like poking fun at Protestants, and like, you guys are wrong. Like, we're right over here. Come this way. And you can't debate someone into appreciating your faith, much less wanting to join you in on your faith. You can't do it. And so if I just stick to sharing the beautiful aspects of our faith, I have a little debate every now and then. I do a little stitch every now and again, but truly I want to show people what a joyful Catholic can look like, what a practicing joyful Catholic. I love praying the rosary. I love getting my sacraments. I love doing all these things. And I'm also not like this very heavy, stuffy type of I can't read. It's like
I'm
flipped.
sorry.
What is?
Ignore me. You just share your story.
Oh,
People are
okay. I'm
asking
gonna look
things
at myself.
in the questions. I'm just they're like, show me this, show me the book. This is the peoples of the Buddhist world. So I'm a missionary. I don't know if you know that, Anna, but I have a
No, I didn't.
as a missionary, I'm interested in missiology, right? I'm interested in people groups, unreached tribes,
Hmm.
particularly. So this book just talks about the different tribes of the Buddhist world, right? So when I go to Myanmar or
Oh,
Thailand or other Buddhist countries, I like to read about the people groups,
oh,
demographics,
okay.
just nerd stuff. I'm so sorry.
No, please, please. I'm yapping too much. Um, I don't really remember what I was saying.
Yeah,
I don't know.
yeah, and I even had a follow-up question to that I
Oh yeah.
completely forgot now. We were talk. I know that you were talking about obedience and what it looks like following Jesus
Oh
in
yeah, yeah.
today's world.
Yes.
Um, you
Yeah.
want to continue from
Obedience
there?
and being a joyful witness is how I hope to make a little bit of a difference and serve him in any way. Not by fighting people online, although they really tune me up sometimes.
Yeah, you know what?
But
I've really got sick as of late, just doom scrolling on TikTok, right? Because all I run into is just Catholics fighting Eastern Orthodox fighting Protestants, Protestants fighting absolutely everybody, and then Catholics fighting Catholics, like
I know.
traditional Latin Mass and Novus Ordo. And I started doing these lives. I didn't used to do lives. I just like 2 weeks ago started doing lives, and my idea was just let's get together. I don't care if you're Catholic, Orthodox, Protestant, what faith tradition you come from. I mean, I care about some faith traditions, obviously, but the goal here is can we get together? Can we talk about Christ, what it looks like to live for Christ? And
Hmm.
I get so tired. People are so argumentative, right? You can win a debate and lose the
Yeah.
person. And that's what
Hmm.
people were trying to do with Nisa, for example. They were trying to
Yeah.
school him on the Catholic faith when he doesn't know the Catholic faith, instead of introducing Jesus, helping him to continue his
Right.
walk with Jesus, right? So
Yeah.
thank you for the follow. Give Anna follows here. She puts out tremendous content. I don't know if I
Oh,
reached
thank
hundred
you.
thousand yet or not. I'm gonna go and look at this here. I'm hoping to reach 100,000 followers tonight. I don't know. Maybe people are gonna stop following me tonight.
Ooh,
I don't
that'd
know.
be
What do you think?
great. I think you'll do it. I'm gonna look
But
see how
okay,
bad my.
so spinning the wheel a little bit here. Then, what's the hardest part
Mhm.
of living out your faith?
This is obedience.
Yeah.
Hello.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I got you. Okay, okay. Um,
But no, it's truly, surrendering and obedience kind of go hand in hand for me. Like for example, with the crosses that I've had to bear in my life, which mind you, they're big to me, but they're not big in the grand scheme of things, and I do know that. But it's like I have to surrender. Um, and again, that's a choice. So I've surrendered and I'm accepting of his will. But there's still, a thought in my head that's like, but, like I deserve this too. And then the obedience comes into play because it's like, all right, I can also kind of take my life in my own hands. And what's that saying? It's better to ask for forgiveness than permission. And it's like sometimes I just wish I didn't know, not that I know like 100% of what I know, probably about 2% of what there is to know about our faith. But sometimes I'm like, I wish I didn't know that IVF was bad because then I do it. And then all these people who are doing it, hopefully they come to Christ one day. And, I know Catholics who've done it. And I'm like, this is so unfair because now they're going to get their way and do whatever, whether it's IVF, whether it's living in sin, whether it's what have you, fill it in with whatever they're doing that you maybe want to be doing and you know better, so you're not doing it. They're going to come back around, they're going to repent, and we're going to be at the same spot. and purgatory right there next to each other. Like that's not fair. So it's that I struggle with sometimes that I'm like this is
So,
really unfair. But that's the
someone
hardest part
asked,
is
what is IVF?
oh, like in vitro fertilization. So when people take the sperm and the egg and they mix it up in a lab and then they put it into the woman and then you know
So
high
why?
success rates.
By the way, just out of curiosity, why is that not allowed?
So it goes against the natural order, and it kind of falls under the umbrella of birth control. IUI is another like term in the fertility world, vasectomies, and then IVF. So, the marriage is supposed to be a, what's the word? Procreative act. You
Yeah.
can't separate, the natural order of creating a child. That doesn't, if you've done IVF, this is not to shame anyone. Every child is a blessing and has dignity and is made in the image and likeness of God. It's the IVF process, not the baby. That's like the sin here. But yeah, even surrogacy or embryo adoption, whereas like, that like I could go and adopt an embryo that someone else created and, put it in me and I could have that baby. All of those things go against the natural order, like what's it called? Natural order, law of natural order, something like that. It's just not natural, is essentially what it is. So yeah, you have to keep all these things in mind. And again, this is like the hardest part. It's the obedience. Like, I'm a good Catholic. I'm a good, nice Catholic lady. Like, I wouldn't do these things and think of it, I don't know. It's just like, I deserve it. But it's like, no, it's so much bigger than that. And embryos are discarded. So it's kind of, like on the same kind of page as abortion, not saying anyone has, or they're donated to science. And it just kind of strips that dignity of the human when these embryos are created. So that's, I could talk about it for hours, but
Yeah. Interesting. Very interesting.
yeah.
Anna, I want to ask you. I always save three big questions to last.
Okay.
My most important questions, but I'm gonna give some time here for people also to ask their questions. If you've asked questions and we've missed it, ask them again. Um, Someone said, yeah, and you ask your question, would adoption be better? Would adoption be a better option for people who can't have kids? Nida asked.
Yeah, absolutely. I think if you're truly pro-life, you would want to be pro-life in all aspects. So adoption is a great way to give a child a home and also become a parent. And I think it's like a very pro-life thing to do.
Yeah. Thoughts on these questions are going too fast. Where did it go? Theories on disbelief in the Eucharist. I don't know exactly what he means. If it's just has to do with people actually don't believing in the real presence, or
Oh, yeah, maybe like it's symbolic, maybe.
maybe let me
Is
ask
that,
this: like, how important is it to you that Christ is truly present in the Eucharist? What does that mean to you?
I mean, it's the source and summit of our faith. It's the most important part of our faith is that we know that, the body and blood, soul and divinity of Jesus is truly present right there. Um, and I'll just say, guys, Eucharistic miracles, look them up. Pretty convincing.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's
How how
it's
how
everything.
should
Yeah.
how should we combat modernism in the church? From Isaac.
Modernism,
I guess
like
maybe woke agenda, maybe, or
so I think it's very important to remember that the Catholic Church is not political. It has some left, you know, uh, ideologies, central themes. We care for the poor. We care for immigration or the immigrants, and we love our neighbor. Blah blah blah. Those are more like left leaning things. And then we also have right leaning things like they're aren't 100 genders, there's abortion is not an option, et cetera, et cetera. So I think you have to remember that the church teachings are here in the middle. They're not left, they're not right. Therefore, the church cannot be left or right. But I think it's important to stay rooted to the heart of those teachings in the way that they are meant to be practiced and lived every day. Like, I can say that I do believe in a legal immigration process and I care for our neighbors in other countries, but I can also say that, there needs to be some reform to the way that we have our current system. I can say that I, don't support the death penalty because I'm pro-life and I value life from womb to tomb. That doesn't mean that I'm not Catholic, because some Catholics, they don't support the death penalty. They think it's biblical more than anything. And so I think just kind of staying rooted in the catechism and having that awareness that there is no political whatever in the Catholic faith, in the Catholic Church. There's no left and there's no right. There's just our faith and our church, if that makes sense.
Yeah, very much. And I'm struggling. I'm sorry. I'm looking at one comment and then I scroll up and then for some reason the comment disappears and I go back to square one again. I already told you that I am a technical idiot, so I'm really trying to figure this out.
Me too.
Can you make more videos about resentment, finding forgiveness? Yes, we can. Okay, well, continue asking the questions in the comments. I'm sure that Anna has to leave here shortly, but I want to ask you these 3 last questions, and then maybe we can take one more question, or you can,
Yeah.
I don't want to keep you for too long. I'm going to go and get something, but this is a big question. Take as much time as you want. But who is Jesus, and what does he mean to you?
So simplified. Oh, should I wait till you're back? Can I just answer?
No, take as much time as you want. I just need to fix something over here and you speak.
Oh, okay. What a loaded question. Well, okay. Simplified. Jesus is God made man, of course. But I think the best way to sum up who Jesus is, without using like adjectives, like he's all loving, he's, these things. Every religion reaches for God, but only in Jesus does God reach down to us. So that to me is who Jesus is. We're all reaching up to him. We're reaching up to God. We're trying to get to him one day, but only in Jesus did he reach down to us to reach us. So that's who I would say that Jesus is. Is that okay?
I absolutely love that. I just literally preached a sermon on how the gospel is not our pursuit after God, it's God's pursuit after us. It's Jesus coming to us and rescuing us while we are walking away from him. So I love that.
Perfect.
What is the gospel?
Well, besides the good news, oh, sorry, I have my computer here, so it like shows light on me. So the gospel is the story of how God saves us, how God didn't leave us in sin and separation, but it's really the story of how much he loves us, how he saved us, and what God did to get to us. So, and then you could revert back to question number 1, where, God reaches us in Jesus. So.
Absolutely. Last question. And here, come here. Let me just show this. See that right there?
Oh my gosh, so cute.
She's in the church office and she just farted so bad. So I'm trying to focus. But be that as it may, what is God like?
So God is not just loving, but he is love. The verb love, the noun love, the adjective love. He's relentless in love. So that's one. Um, he's unending in mercy, and he's perfect in justice. That's so, he's deeply personal. He's not distant, not detached. He's eternal, all knowing, all powerful. But yeah, God is love, period.